I mean, Spotify, they pay Joe Rogan a lot of money. It's very profitable for Spotify. But they could certainly say artists like Rogan have a First Amendment protection and we're standing up for the First Amendment. And then I could see Neil Young saying, well, I have a First Amendment right as well. And the free market for me means that I want you to take my music down. So maybe the free market is working. I'm sure you have some comments and color on how to look at this.
Yeah, no, I think it is working. I think it worked exactly right. Neil Young makes this demand. I want you to take my music down. Spotify complies, and that's the end of it. I think the big picture here is whether other artists follow Neil Young, and then it could become a business problem for Spotify. But if you take a look at the numbers here, the issue is that Joe Rogan is by far the most streamed podcaster on the platform. Podcasting is especially lucrative for Spotify because it's really good for advertising. Now, by comparison, I think they'd probably be fine with Neil Young taking a hike if it means that they can keep their most star business player on the platform. The question that I have is, where is Spotify going to draw the line in the future? They said in a statement yesterday that they took down 20,000 podcasts related to COVID-19 misinformation since the start of the pandemic. Well, why aren't you taking down Joe Rogan's? I think the answer is because they're paying $100 million in a multi-year contract for Joe Rogan, but they're not going to be able to waver for long. I think a lot of artists are going to get fed up with it.
Do you think Neil Young expected this outcome, or do you think the woke virtue signaling millennials at Twitter are trigger happy, and at Facebook are trigger happy? I figured if Neil had been reading the newspapers, he would think, oh, they'll listen to me immediately and take down this horrible disinformation. But that didn't happen. Do you think he was surprised? Do you think he didn't expect this outcome, or he was willing to do this all along to make the point?
Oh, it was definitely an ultimatum, and he had to have been willing to ultimately have his music come down. You don't issue an ultimatum like that without the expectation. Remember, Neil Young's the first major artist to do something like this. So he was absolutely going to make a splash, and he knew that. I think the question is, does he think some of his colleagues, especially older artists with backlog catalogs who don't need the branding anymore, are going to follow him? I actually think those are conversations he's having right now with a bunch of his peers.
Hey, Sarah, the other question, given your affiliation with Axios, how does Washington, you think, react to this? We've had lots of debate over the years about Section 230, the responsibilities of tech companies and quote-unquote platforms, misinformation, and the like. And this is a tricky one.
Yeah, I think Washington has not caught up to audio. They're focused so much right now on video and text, on Facebook and YouTube. They have not talked a lot about misinformation on Spotify, but who has is the medical community. And Washington listens very closely to the medical community. It's one of our fiercest lobbies. And so I think that they're going to start paying a lot more attention right now. Now, in terms of how Spotify plays into Section 230, Section 230 is about, right now, the debate is around algorithmic distribution, not necessarily take something down or leave something up, but how you amplify it. And Spotify does include Joe Rogan in some of its algorithms to suggest top podcasts. So I do expect that at the end of this battle, Washington's going to be talking a lot more about Joe Rogan, but it's not going to be, and Spotify's affiliation, it's not going to be in the same realm of a conversation as Facebook and Google and Twitter.